Alright, today we're going to be ranking all COD zombie games from worst to best. In my opinion, I don't think there is a worst. I think all games are great, even the ones that a lot of people, in their opinions, are the worst. I still have fun playing them. Obviously, I won't have fun playing them as much as the ones at the top of the list, but we're going to go from worst to best. We're going to be ranking all of them, all the ones that have zombies in it. And how we're going to rank them is based on maps, so overall maps. So for example, Modern Warfare 3 has, Urzikstan, and then, comparing it to BO3, it would be kind of hard if we're going to talk about size of the map or how many maps or whatnot. So we're just going to do like overall map ranking, and we're going to do from that. We're not going to do it how many maps there are. We're also going to do it on we're not going to do the Easter egg, like based on the Easter egg, because then World at War and Vanguard, those would be at the bottom of the list, which we don't want, or even BO1, like most of BO1 maps. I'm not going to do, based on Easter eggs. It's mostly going to be gameplay and maps, and just overall, do I have fun coming back to it when I play? All right, we're going to do an honorable mention to Black Ops 7 since it's still coming out. It obviously Totenreich just came out, but it's still fresh. I do think this will be pretty high on the list once it completes, but we don't know yet. So maybe they'll fumble the bag, but I do think they will make this a top 3 game. But this is going to be an honorable mention just because it's not finished, and we don't know the rest of the maps how they're going to be. All right, dead last at number 12. We have Advanced Warfare's Exo Zombies. So there's 4 maps in this, and obviously during Advanced Warfare, a lot of people didn't like. I assumed. I didn't play this when it first came out, so I don't know too much about it. I know Zombies didn't come out until DLC 1, but I don't think a lot of people liked even the multiplayer and the campaign of this, so I don't think a lot of people were playing this one. But I do like how there was a celebrity cast pretty much throughout the game's life cycle, and I do like how they tried to do something different with it, since it was with jetpacks and stuff like that, and then Exo Zombies. I felt like it was a good effort by Sledgehammer Games in terms of making a zombies game, but I do think they did kind of fell out, and I don't think a lot of people didn't even like a lot of the maps. Like Infection is probably the worst map of all time with how they're like survivor things you have to do. I haven't played Exo Zombies in a while just because I don't like this game. I don't really come back to it because it's a good idea in terms of, having something different, having the jetpack era, but I think they did it so poorly in this. Like, I don't like the Exo Zombies where they come out and either jump up and grab you, or they hit you and then your exoskeleton is deplenished and you have to wait a little bit, so you're very prone for an exo zombie to come in and grab you. I don't like that. A lot of the guns are very forgettable, and I don't like how you have to pack a punch like 25 times just to get your gun the full power. I didn't mind like BO4 is like 4 or 5, but the 25, that's insane. It's like you don't really need that. But I'm not going to spend too much time on the worst zombies just because I want to go up. At number 11, we have Modern Warfare 3's Modern Warfare Zombies. This one was interesting because this was kind of like Outbreak from Cold War, but taken to the next level. It was on the Warzone map, or Uzbekistan, that name. But this one was interesting. This one was a extraction shooter type thing. Kind of not extraction just because you're not really extracting with things besides like perks, tools, and stuff like that, weapons. But it was interesting. I do think it could have been done a lot better. Like, obviously, Easter eggs and boss fights, which was super cool. I didn't play this one when it first came out, and I'm going back and playing through all these, so it's not round-based, which is fine to a certain point, but I do think it does lack soul and atmosphere, because I do feel like if they made a map specifically for this, it would be a lot better than just using the Warzone map. The story missions were fine. It's not just zombies. You got these mercenaries too, which I which are shooting at you, and they're very tough for some reason, which I don't like. And I don't like how there's a 45-minute time limit. I feel like it should give you like an hour and a half or something like that if they want to do something like this. Because I do feel like Endgame, maybe '07, did this a lot better, even though that one's not considered zombies. But I do think this this had the potential to be great, and it didn't. And maybe Infinity Ward will bring it back in MW4. I don't think they will, but I do wish they would improve upon this concept. All right, at number 10, we have Vanguard from Sledgehammer in 2021. I don't mind this map, to be honest. So that's why it's ranked a little bit higher than the other ones, just because I do like some of the maps. So this obviously has 4 maps. It has Durang Fang, or Durang, I can never pronounce it correctly. Terra Medicta, Shinonuma Reborn, and the Archon. These maps are okay. The atmosphere of all of them, besides the Archon, are perfect. I feel like Durang Fang and Terra Medicta, I know they had a lot of issues with the start, and since it was an outbreak kind of game mode with completing objectives to progress around instead of round base. But I do feel like if they added more to the maps, it would be a lot better, because I do think Durang Fang is pretty cool. I do believe that. Obviously, there's no Easter egg, besides the one shitty thing that they added a little bit after with, going to Shinonuma and you can do the round base there, which is stupid. But and then Terra Medicta is my favorite out of the 2, or well, it's my second favorite of the whole game. I do think the wonder weapon is the shield, which, if you've seen some of my other videos, you know that I have a soft spot for melee wonder weapons. And I do like the atmosphere of being at like Egypt. I think it's so cool. We never had an Egypt map. I know this one is kind of not very good, and there's not really an Easter egg besides that and maybe like one other thing, but not really too much. Obviously, this also had the objective base too. And then Shinonuma came out, and this was the fix of Vanguard. They made it round base. It's Shinonuma, just with some added stuff. The lighting is different. There's a couple new areas. This is a good one. It has a little Easter egg. Not the hardest one. I don't mind it. I think it was pretty good. And then the Archon, which is just Terra Medicta with the green filter. I don't like this map because I feel like if this map came out and Terra Maledicta never came out, I feel like the Archon would be a lot better in my opinion. But just because Maledicta came out and that doesn't have the ugly green filter, I feel like it's okay. But the Archon, the Easter egg is cool. I think it is fun. I think the boss fight was pretty cool. Obviously, this is considered by a lot of people the worst zombies launch ever, because you get no Pack-a-Punch camo, reused multiplayer maps for the objectives, objective-based portals, repetitive, obviously. Did feel like more like an alpha product, which obviously I think the issue was because Treyarch had the help Sledgehammer with this one. I do feel like if Sledgehammer took on Vanguard the entire time, I feel like it would be a lot better. All right, our number 9th spot, we have Call of Duty World War II. This one was Sledgehammer Games. This one is a lot better than Vanguard, a lot of the other ones on the list, just because I feel like this one promotes more of a gritty, dark tone, which I do like it because it does do the horror aspect of zombies. This one came with 4 plus the Tortured Path, which, is considered one of the worst DLCs in a while. But I do feel like, I think it did well. I think there's 2 Easter egg types that you can do on here. You can do, normal and then like a hardcore one, which is kind of cool. I do think, obviously in my last video, I had the Frozen Dawn as underrated because I do think it's pretty well with the melee wonder weapons and the boss fight. Obviously, I think the characters were forgettable. Their armor system, alpha build of what we have now, I don't mind it. Darkest Shore is the worst, probably, map ever, but I do like the idea of it. I do like the starting on the beach. I think my issue is if the Easter egg was better and the fog wasn't there, I feel like it would be a lot better. The wonder weapon on that map is pretty good. Shoots some saws. I like that. It's very unique. But I do think this game could have been better. And all right, at number 8, this is going to be a controversial one, and a lot of people are going to disagree with me, but I do think it's Call of Duty World at War. So this game by Treyarch is probably one of the most greatest Call of Duties in all of Call of Duty, but I do think the zombies in this is a little bit lackluster just because of what we have now. Like, obviously at the time this was, unique and new and stuff like that with the zombies. But I do think compared to what we have now, I feel like this is lacking a little bit more. Just because of the stuff to do in the game and like no Easter eggs, very glitchy, very on brand for 2008. But this holds a place in a lot of people's hearts just because it's the first Call of Duty Zombies game. All the maps are simple. Nocturtoten, you're stuck in a box with a mystery box, and that's it. And then Varrock, they introduced perks. And then in Derice, they added the Pack-a-Punch. And obviously, throughout the game, they added wonder weapons like the ray gun and the Wonder Wolf. But I do think this is a very glitchy game. I don't think it's as good as it could be just because of the glitches. If there wasn't glitches, I feel like it would be a lot better. But I also do feel like it wouldn't hold up as much just because of what to do in the game. Like, there isn't really Easter egg. You get the fly trap in Derice, and then obviously the songs. But besides that, I don't think it's as good as people think it is anymore. All right, at number 7, we have Call of Duty Cold War. Kind of like the reboot of the Zombies franchise, because BO4 came out before this for Zombies. And this was kind of a reboot because, different director, different time. It also came out during, the one thing. And it wasn't supposed to be a Black Ops series. It was supposed to be something with Raven and Sledgehammer Games. But obviously something happened, so Treyarch was the lead. And they reintroduced zombies to the franchise. This is kind of the definition of mid. Like, it's okay. It's not bad per se, but it's not good, Right now, I'm also grinding for Dark Ether. Came out in this one, there's no characters, there's no dedicated crew. The maps are kind of forgettable. Like, I don't really like any of the maps. Like, D Machine is probably my favorite. Toten's okay, but Firebase Z sucks. And then Forsaken is okay, but the Easter egg sucks, and you can kind of get lost in there. But this also introduced Salvage, which, refreshing at the time, but I feel like since then, it's gotten better, and we can see how well it's done. This mode also introduced Outbreak, which is kind of like Modern Warfare Zombies that we had, but every time you complete an objective, you go into a different map, which is just multiplayer. Like, the boss fights were kind of forgettable. I know I'm dishing on it a lot, but it did introduce a decent amount of stuff. Like, every map had a boss fight besides D Machine. You can also bring in your loadout, which is very controversial. You can buy all the perks. There's a bunch of side Easter eggs that are fun. But I do think overall, this is kind of like average. All right, number 6, we have Call of Duty Black Ops 6. So this one came out last year as a recording. And it's another one. Like, there's some good things. Like, I like some of the maps. But I do think it is still kind of lacking. This brought in a dedicated crew. Obviously, you don't have to play them as you want, but I do like that just because it was a lot better than the Cold War story. Obviously, this came after Cold War in terms of Treyarch. Next game in Treyarch's. I do like some of the Easter eggs. Like, this one had Liberty Falls, Terminus, Citadel, Shattered Veil, and The Reckoning. And probably out of all those maps, I like Terminus and Citadel the most. Citadel just because I like castle maps, and I do wish it was flushed on a little bit more, because I do think it was kind of lackluster. But I have a soft spot for melee wonder weapons. I really do. And I do think these elemental swords were so cool. I do think, like, they were so unique. I mean, not really unique because they were kind of the same thing, but it's still pretty cool. And then Terminus, I just liked the map, and I liked the boss fight. And then Liberty Falls was okay. Liberty Falls was just a grinding map for me. And then everything else, I mean, Shattered Veil was pretty good. Reckoning is just another okay. This one improved on Cold War's mechanics of, like, armor system or rarities or, Pack-a-Punch or whatnot. I do think it's better than Cold War, but I don't think it's that great. And in terms of, like, BO7 would be ranked higher than this just because of just better maps, better mechanics, better everything. All right, number 5th spot, we have a very controversial pick in BO1. That's what it is. Black Ops 1. Black Ops 1 is great. My thing is would I rather go play BO3 or BO4 than BO1? Yeah, I would. Would I rather go play BO7 than BO1? Yes, I would, actually, because don't get me wrong, I love the maps. This is where the zombies mode really took off with the Easter eggs and stuff like that, and how good the maps can be. But I don't think this doesn't hold up in terms of gameplay. This is the same thing with World at War. I do think BO1 at the time was phenomenal. A couple years later, still phenomenal, but 10 plus years later, it's not as good. And for my reasoning, it's because of the gameplay, not because of the maps. The maps are great. Kino's great. Low overrated for Kino, but 5 is great. Call of the Dead, one of the top maps of all time. Moon, Shangri-La, Ascension, great maps. So I do think the maps aren't the problem. It's because of the gameplay, because I do feel like it's very sticky. It's the same with World at War. It's like BO2 improved upon it, and BO3 improved more on it, and then BO4 improved more on it. But I mean, every game after improved on it. But I do think BO1, if it was in the same engine as BO3 or BO4, I feel like this would be a top 3 game. Just because of the maps. Because Call of Dead, I love. At the end with Moon, you blow up the moon, which is super cool. But I do rank it lower than a lot of games because of the simple fact is you need 4 people to play it. I know this was like the first time they ever did Easter eggs, but I do feel like since you can only do these Easter eggs with 4 players, locks me out of it, so I don't play any of the Easter eggs. Locked. I'd rather go play, BO4, BO3, where I can actually do most of the Easter eggs. Number 4 spot, barely not getting the 3rd spot, is BO2. Black Ops 2 is the most bought game of all the Call of Duty zombies, or all the Call of Duties. But I do think just because, for me personally, there's 3 other games list above this. And since half the maps weren't good, I think it's ranked pretty well. I've said before that Origins is pretty overrated, and I do stick by it. You can go on my channel and take a look at it. But I do think some of the other maps aren't very good. Like, obviously, Transit and Die Rise aren't very good. Even Nuketown Zombies wasn't very good. You got, Mob of the Dead, which is a good map, not the greatest. And then Buried is pretty good. And then Origins is still good, just a little overrated. But I do think this has the same issue with the BO1, is a lot of these Easter eggs are either not very good, because the Transit, Die Rise, even Buried Easter eggs aren't the greatest. But then you got Mob of the Dead, where you can't even do one of the Easter eggs unless you have another player playing, because, you got to fight each other at the end of it. But I also don't like how, to get the Pack-a-Punch, you're pretty much doing the whole Easter egg, because you got to fly the plane. So you have to build all that, which I don't like, but I still like Mob of the Dead just because of the setting. I like Die Rise. I like Die Rise a lot more than Transit, just because I do like the elevators. Like, I know a lot of people won't like the elevators and how inconsistent they are. I think it adds like a little bit of cool. And obviously you got the fire, which is probably wonder weapon of all time. Transit, no need to say. And then one of my favorite in terms of the Victus crew. I do like the whole cowboy setting. I like Leroy. I like the wonder weapons. And then, we got Origins. I've went over that. Origins is the best map on BO2. But the newer gameplays of it being a little bit smoother. So like playing Origins in BO3 is a lot better for me than playing BO2 Origins, in my personal opinion. If these were on like BO3 or BO4, I would not touch BO2 at all, just because of I don't like the gameplay. It doesn't feel smooth. I think that's my issue. I know this is a game for 2012, so I'm not going to give it too much hate. All right, number 3, which kind of breaks my heart, is Infinite Warfare Zombies. This is another game that came out with the jetpack era, but the zombies didn't have jetpack era, and one of the maps in here is in my underrated list, which I still stand by, and it's probably one of the greatest maps ever. But anyway, Infinity Ward, and I do think the style of this is my favorite. I like it better than Treyarch's Zombies, because I do feel like the movie type thing is so cool. There's a dedicated cast in this. Some of the maps are so cool. You got a Zombies in Space Lane, where you're at a theme park, and then Raven the Redwoods, which is like a slasher type movie, which is so cool, with a lot of drugs in it. Shallon's Shuffle, which is a New York Karate Kid type thing. It's pretty cool. And then Attack of the Radioactive thing, that would probably be on my underrated list, because I do like the atmosphere of it. Attack of the 50-Foot Woman type thing, I think it's so cool. And then Beast from Beyond is the weakest, obviously, and then each one had the celebrity cast that you can beat the Easter egg and play as the character, which is kind of cool. And my favorite thing of this that I wish every other game did after is the super Easter egg. Super Easter egg of where you complete all the Easter eggs, and then you get director's mode, and then beat all the Easter eggs in directed mode, and then you can fight Mephistopheles. You could fight another boss in Mephistopheles, and he's probably one of the best bosses ever, just because of how good the mechanics are and all that. But I do feel like they really made this game different from Treyarch. Like a lot of the zombies in the past kind of followed the same formula of zombies, Treyarch, Easter eggs, all that. This one took it into a movie form and made it more feel like a movie, where you're going into each one and you're fighting zombies, you're fighting whatever's on the map, whatever the clowns or the slasher guy, and it's just great. This is one of my favorite games of all time. I just love the atmosphere. It makes me feel like happy it came out. Wish it did better, because a lot of people were kind of burnt out with zombies at the time, because this came after BO3. But I do think if there was another game, they need to have this, because I feel like they need to expand on this, because this is such a great thing. And I like how, because zombies to me has always been a fantasy type thing. Like, it's not real, obviously. Treyarch plays into that, obviously, but this takes it to a whole new level. This is zombies, but it's not realistic at all. Like, I like it. I think it's so cool, but I digress. But yeah, that's my number spot. All right, number 2 is unfortunately BO4, just because I do glaze this one a lot. I do think it is the best, but looking at all the maps, all the gameplays, I'd rather have this at number 2, just because number 1 is better in terms of maps, gameplay. I do rank this pretty high anyway, just because there's a lot of stuff to do in this map, or in this game. There's a lot of game modes. There's the gauntlet, and then you can change the settings to how you like it. And then you got a bunch of maps that a lot of games didn't. There's not a lot of games that have this many maps. This launched with 4 maps at the start. Like, obviously, BO4 had some issues at the start, but they fixed it, and I have never had a problem. I mean, I didn't play it at start, but I played it. I started playing it a couple years ago. But I do think this is probably one. If you want to get into zombies, I feel like this and number 1 would be the best. But if you want to get into Easter eggs, get into this, because the Easter eggs on this one are 10 times better than anything in zombies. Some of the zombies maps with their Easter eggs are a little bit harder to do, just because that's what they wanted to do. They wanted to make it, instead of the core part of the game, they wanted to make a side thing, which I think is a great thing. Obviously, I had a couple of the maps on BO4 in my underrated maps as Tag to Toten and, spoiler, number 1, Dead of the Night, because I do think these maps are great, and I do think they need to be played more. And I do wish the Chaos story continued, because it's so cool. Like, I love the Ether story, don't get me wrong, but I do like this. I like the Chaos story because it's more... for me, it's more history type stuff. Like they went to the Ancient Evil is set in Roman times, and then they're on the Titanic, and then the Dead of the Night, which is like an English manor with vampires and werewolves. So cool. I wish they continued. I wish they continued with this, because I want to see what's going to happen next. I want to see if they're going to win. BO4 is my favorite zombies game. Like, obviously this is at number 2, but I do think, in terms of my opinion, I feel like BO4 is the best zombies game experience. Besides a little bit of the gameplay, I do think this had the potential to be even greater if they had a season 2 with BO4, and I wish they did, but it's okay. If you're liking this video so far, make sure to hit that subscribe button. It helps me out quite a bit. Anyway, back to our number 1 pick. All right, number 1, obviously everybody's seen it coming, is BO3. BO3 has probably one of the greatest lineups in maps, just because every map is a banger. Besides the Giant and Revelations and Shadows of Evil, it's still cool. Dreisendrach, obviously top 3 map. Gorod, Kovri, top 3 map. Shadows didn't have really a boss fight, and then Dreisendrach had kind of a boss fight. I mean, it was the first boss fight we had, and then it kind of just built from there. But I do think the gameplay-wise, as I was saying in BO4, I feel like if some of the BO4 gameplay was BO3, like in terms of minimalistic HUD or the specialists, I mean, the specialists were fine. I didn't mind them in BO4, but I do think this is like the culmination of every good zombie game, and I do feel like it, and I think my issue is if it didn't have a stack lineup of maps and it didn't have custom games, BO4 would be better. Even if it didn't have a stack lineup of maps, if it just didn't have custom zombies, BO4 would be better, in my opinion. I think BO4 brings more to the table than BO3. But just because BO3 has custom maps, I know World at War has custom maps, but World at War gameplay sucks. BO3 is just God tier for that. I think it's an S tier. It's not by itself, but it's the top of the list, and I hope we get something like it. I know I said before I don't really like a lot of these maps, and I'm very controversial, but I do think BO3, unfortunately, is good just because of I was thinking about this the other day while I was thinking about this video. Unfortunately, BO3 is the number 1, and there's not really an argument I can have for it because of how good it is and how special it is. That's my ranking of all zombies games. What you think of it? Did you think, something could be higher, something could be lower? Let me know in the comments, and yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.